Welcome to Daily Timothy Time. My name is Carl Coates, and it's a privilege, pleasure, and an absolute joy to be with you once again with an open King James Bible. Today being Thursday, the 7th of August 2025. It's week 32, and I'm coming to you from a little village called Volda here on the west coast of Norway. And I do want to say this: if you are in the Trøndelag area, which is further north to where I am, and if you are looking for an English Bible study to attend, go to our website, dailytimothytime.com. Our contact details are there. Love to have some fellowship with you. Anyway, let's get to reading. Folks, today we're back in the book of Mark. We're in chapter 8 of our read through the book. And I'm going to begin in verse 10 today. We've got a short passage, and I'm going to give some light commentary afterwards. So let's go for it. Mark chapter 8, verse 10. And straightway he entered into a ship with his disciples and came into the parts of Dalanutha. And the Pharisees came forth and began to question with him, seeking of him a sign from heaven, tempting him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit, and saith, Why doth this generation seek after a sign? Verily I say unto you, there shall no sign be given unto this generation. And he left them, and entering into the ship, again departed to the other side. Interesting little passage that. And in the way of light commentary, folks, I do want to say this. When you see in verse, draw your eye back up to verse 11, and the Pharisees came forth. I must be honest, I do have my childish nature sometimes gets the better of me, and I said that the Pharisees came forth. Lucky they didn't come fifth, eh? Anyway, I can be childish at times. Moving on here. And began to question him, seeking of him a sign. Folks, what you and I have got to remember is Israel were a sign nation. Some verses for you to go and peruse and to look at and read and prayerfully meditate on. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 22. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 22 is one. If I can quickly turn, I'll read it for you. Please read it in the context of chapter 1, but I'm just going to jump in at verse 22. For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. You see, the Jews are a sign people. Come with me back to Exodus chapter 13. And I present this to you so you could take it back to your own personal study. Exodus chapter 13. Exodus chapter 13. I'll just begin at verse 8. And thou shalt shew thy son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. See, there's that came forth again. I can have a quiet chuckle to myself. Anyway, verse 9. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, and so on and so forth. Folks, and there's a lot more scriptures we can go to, but time simply doesn't allow. You've got to remember that Israel are a sign nation. That's also why in Paul's early ministry, who's Paul? The apostle to the Gentiles, when he had a provoking ministry, the early part of his ministry, and it was to provoke the Jews to jealousy. How did he do that? Well, the sign gifts were in play in the early part of his ministry, healings, speaking in tongues, and so on and so forth. So, and that was to show Israel that, hey, God's now dealing with the Gentiles like he's dealing with you. It was a provoking ministry. Anyway, coming back to Mark chapter 8. So when you read there, seeking a sign of him, just keep that in mind. Also, lastly, what I want to bring up with you today is in verse 12, it says, this generation. What does it mean by this generation? In my ministry, I've learned that sometimes folks like to wear this label, this generation, as us today, from the time that the so-called Israel in 1948 was established to where we are today. A lot of folks would say, this is the generation that's been spoken about. I submit to you that, no, it's not. This generation was at the audience who's been written to here. And that generation that's spoken of in verse 12 is the generation that knew and understood, or at least should have, the Jewish time schedule. Draw your eye back, go to Daniel chapter 9 and give that a read. This generation mentioned in Mark 8 verse 12 and 12 That's a generation that should have known that Christ was going to be, their Messiah was going to be in their midst. Anyway, I see time's up for today. Wherever you are around the world, thank you for listening. Please share this in your socials, and remember to keep your sword sharp, soldier. Till we meet again next time, if the Lord tarries. Grace and peace to you. Maranatha.